The disciples say, "Not now." Jesus says, "Don't you dare stop them." And then he tells them that unless people receive God's kingdom in the same manner as a child does, they won't enter it at all. So what did Jesus mean? And why does it matter? We're looking at Mark 10:13 to 16. Let's read verse 13 from the ESV. And they were bringing children to him that he might touch them, and the disciples rebuked them. Where are we? Mark hasn't mentioned a scene change, so we should assume that Jesus and the disciples are still in the house mentioned in verse 10. And people who heard that Jesus was there started bringing their children to Jesus to be blessed by him. The word translated children means little children, but the disciples took it upon themselves to act as gatekeepers and stop people from bringing children to Jesus. As mentioned previously in our studies, children were low-status people at this time. So the disciples apparently decided to stop people from bothering Jesus with their unimportant little kids. How did that work out? Look at verse 14. But when Jesus saw it, he was indignant and said to them, "Let the children come to me, do not hinder them, for to such belongs the kingdom of God." Mark says, when Jesus saw it. So as soon as Jesus became aware of what they were doing, he was indignant or angry. In other words, he was not on board with the disciples' initiative in this situation. Then Jesus engaged in some classic rabbinic teaching. He stated something in a positive way, and immediately followed it with a negative reiteration of that thing. First he said, "Let the children come to me. Allow them to approach. Allow the parents to bring them in." And second, he told them, "Do not hinder them. Allow it, and don't interfere with it." Two sides of the same coin. Why does he take this position? Because the kingdom of God belongs to such. That phrase is literally, the kingdom of God is of such ones. God's kingdom consists of people who share characteristics with little children. What are some of the better qualities of little children? They're open, innocent, trusting, sincere, and will rely on a higher power, like a parent or God. But wait, there's more. Look at verse 15. "Truly, I say to you, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God like a child shall not enter it." There's that formal introduction again. "Truly, I say to you," means I'm about to say something noteworthy and important. And what is that? People who don't receive the kingdom in a childlike manner won't enter it at all. Wow, that's a pretty significant statement. In the original Greek, it's even more powerful. Mark wrote the quote of Jesus using a Greek double negative. In Greek, the double negative doesn't create a positive, it emphasizes the negative. Mark's original audience would understand it as, "They shall certainly not enter it." It's probably not a coincidence that the very next story that Mark records is about a rich young man who wants to know what he needs to do to inherit the kingdom. And Jesus' answer is very troubling to the young man. Spoiler alert, the young man isn't very childlike. Let's move on to verse 16. "And he took them in his arms and blessed them, laying his hands on them." After stopping the disciples from gatekeeping and reframing the value and importance of children, Jesus did exactly what the parents were seeking. He placed hands on them, blessing them. What are some takeaways from this passage? It can be easy to assume that some people are less important in the kingdom. We may confuse what we think of as a person's status with what constitutes a citizen of God's kingdom. Most of us grow up in a meritocracy and think we need to prove our worth to God. But Jesus didn't mention proving anything. He spoke of receiving the kingdom, like a child receives a gift. To enter the kingdom, status, stuff, and achievement isn't going to mean anything. Openness, receptivity, and dependence on God's grace means everything. Next time, the rich young man doesn't understand what inheritance means. Thanks for studying with me. I really appreciate you for watching these videos.